Hi, so in a previous video I talked a little bit about bumper repair for EXPs, but it pretty much applies for any car in the 80 as long as it has these uh, plastic rubber hybrid molded bumpers. So as long as you have a molded bumper that's like this weird plastic rubber mix, it's usually yellow. My repair strategy will work for it. So over time, this stuff, as it sits in the sun, it bakes and whatnot, and you start seeing yellow spots, and those yellow spots will actually turn into craters. And the way to fix that is just to cover the entire affected area in Bondo. You can see I laid it on pretty thick, because what you want to do is fill in the deeper craters first and then completely cover it with a lighter skin coat. So I can show you on the front bumper. I haven't sanded this one yet at all. So I got that to sand. And then this one is half sanded. So I completely sanded from this side over, and then I only half sanded at this side that way. So I got just a little bit more work to do on this one, and then I'll hit up a few more spots, coat it with sandable primer, sand it down exactly the way I like it, and then primer and paint. But here are the craters I was talking about. I filled them with Bondo, but that's about what they look like. Just picture that yellow and deep. And your bumper will fill with it. You can see that this looks like the freaking moon. And once you cover it with Bondo, the best way to sand the Bondo is with a block and just travel this direction. Travel along that face, this face, inside the channel, this face, and then this face. You can do it in any order you want. Just make sure you're doing it side to side, and only do one face at a time. Otherwise, you'll start taking more off than you need in certain spots. Then things will look really weird when you lay some primer down. And then you'll want to make sure that you don't go too deep. Once you start seeing a color that's not Bondo, so like on this, the bumper is black, so when you're sanding it, the second you see black, let up. Otherwise you'll start seeing yellow, and when you start seeing yellow, you know you're taking away material. A little yellow is fine, like that. That's fine. That's all just fine. But that is a little too much. What happened was there was a giant sunspot here, just a giant cluster of holes that I had to fill up, and I guess I didn't fill it enough. So I'll have to fill that back up more, sand it again, and the second I start seeing yellow here, I've already gone too far, so we'll work at that. I still have a little ways to go right here. I took off too much right on this corner. You can see, because you look down there, there's a nice line, and whoop, flat spot. So that's what I gotta fill in. I gotta fill in that flat spot. Because you can see that line, and then the flat spot needs to be filled, and then we're back to a clean line again. So I gotta fill that back up, because I just went in a little too deep. Because you can see there's not much paint right there at that corner. That entire corner was a giant sunspot cluster, just like this little patch of Bondo that remains hiding it all. So I have to go back in, fill that, resand it. And then, of course, whatever you do with your front and rear bumper, you can also do with chin spoilers. So you do the same exact thing, because these will have the same exact damage. They accumulate sunspots. It's mostly on the front bumper, and it's always going to be on the top first, and then this face, and then the inside, and then very rarely on the bottom there. And then sometimes you'll get down to chin spoiler. And then if you park the back of the car towards the sun all year around, then your rear bumper is going to be the one that needs the most help. But anyways, because I laid my Bondo on pretty thick, because I didn't want to miss anything, and I still ended up missing a spot or two. So I found a quick alternative, because another issue with block sanding is it's hard to get inside these corners and crevices accurately and cleanly. The same with up top of here. There's a little hole-shaped bezel thing. I lay the camera like that. You don't want to fill that with Bondo. That's kind of what separates the painted portion from the bumper portion, is that little degree of difference. Same on the bottom, lower half. So what I find works best is a sander, but you'll want a special sander. You'll want one that doesn't spin. You don't want one that oscillates, you just want one that vibrates, and you want one with sharp edges. This has a nice sharp flat edge there, some smoother, some big round flat edges there, and a nice sharp point. So you can take this and you can put it up against whichever surface you need, and then you can take the edges of it and it will work well. Like the edges right here, do it again here, and you can do it on the inside there, do it on the inside there. And when you're doing all of this, what you want to make sure you don't do is do not get any Bondo here directly on the center, because that will be really hard to sand off. Because that inside you will have to sand off. If you get on that silver flat portion, you'll have to sand that off. You'll have to take a block like this, some real thin fascia board or something. Put sandpaper on it. Go back and forth, back and forth all day long until you get it off. So when you're laying Bondo down, do not lay any on that middle streak. Sides are good. You'll want to fill the sides. They pit first anyway. It's not very common to have pitting on the inside of this flat surface, but on this wall and this wall, that's where you get the most pitting inside that channel. So be conservative with Bondo on the inside, but apply plenty on this face, this face, this face, this face, and then the chin spoiler, of course. And then with the chin spoiler, it also has this contour line, which helps to differentiate the black parts from the blue parts, and you can still get right up in there with this thing any way you need. I'm using 120 grit, and it's pulling it off about perfect. 80 will pull it off really quick, but then it will cut through your material even faster. 120, it cuts through Bondo as fast as it cuts through the bumper skin material. So when you're using 120, just be careful, like every second. So every second you want to check. So check, check, check. And it'll actually go pretty quick if you have a vibrating sander like this that has a really nice flat surface. Because I sanded this entire top side in like half an hour, something like that. And then this lower chin portion, I've only done up to here. So I've only done that much out of the hole. That only took me like 10 minutes, so, And what you want to do when you're doing the chin spoiler is that this is real floppy down here. They only hold it onto the body with 2 screws. So, because this is so floppy, what you want to do is you're going to want to take a board and kind of like clamp a board onto your chin spoiler, so it sits nice and flat when you're ready to sand it. And if you don't, you'll start rounding it either this way or this way, and you don't want either, because and it'll just look funny. And it might bend funny ways in the wind as you drive down the road. So, yeah, the side's almost done. I just got to fill in that one spot there and the one on the corner. And then I'll cover it with sandable primer. And once I do that, I'll sand it either by hand or with a block. Because even when you get the Bondo in these, you still might pull off a little bit of Bondo from inside the hole. So then all your holes are like dipped a little bit, kind of like potholes. So we fill it with sanding primer. You lightly sand it. It should be nice, flush, smooth, and then you can prime again, and then you're ready for paint. So, good luck to you. It's not too hard. In a later video, I'll talk about pulling this off the rest of the car, and I'll talk about fixing broken corners and things, because there's a few tricks you can do for when someone hits your car in this corner here and it breaks in a few places. Usually the pieces stay on and you can fix that, so talk about that. The stuff's really flexible. It's very, very rare for this stuff to break because it's just so dang flexible. Yeah. So I'll talk about fixing that in the same video, so just keep an eye out. And good luck, all.